In this episode, we welcome Marlon Portales, a talented artist from Cuba whose incredible journey is nothing short of inspiring. Marlon's story is one of resilience and passion as he navigated the challenges of immigration to pursue his dreams in the art world. Arriving in the U.S., he faced obstacles that would have deterred many, but instead, he transformed them into stepping stones for success. With a unique style that reflects his rich Cuban heritage, Marlon has quickly become a rising star, captivating audience and collectors alike with his vibrant works. This is Donnalynn Patakos. Welcome to Portray Presents. And today at the bar, we have Marlon Portales today. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Marlon is a Miami-based artist that was born in Cuba, and you came over in 2023, right?
No, 2019.
Oh, even before. That must have been a hectic time,
Yeah,
right?
5 years ago.
Was it before or after COVID started?
Just before the COVID, 2 months before.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Talk about an
I spent the
adjustment.
COVID here.
Were you glad that you were here and not in Cuba?
Yes, a little bit. At the same time, no, because my family was in Cuba, my wife, everything. So, was a hard time for everyone, no matter where you were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what made you come to Miami?
Well, too many reasons. First, professionally, and second, the situation in my country, in Cuba at that time. And me and my wife decided that was the moment to try new things in different contexts because of my profession like an artist was getting in a point that I feel living in Cuba was not going to anywhere.
Yeah.
And for Cuban artists and the Cuban art market, mostly depend of American collectors and American galleries. So that was the reason why I came here at the beginning.
Yeah. So even the way that you had to come here was really well thought out. This was like a process that took many years for you, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it took, for me, I think I was a little bit privileged because I get a cultural visa to come into US thanks to my career like an artist, and it's not something easy for everyone to get in Cuba, but at the end of this visa was the moment to take the decision to spend some time here, to get the US residency, and later bring my wife with me. And that process took too many years, like almost 3 years between the first time I came to the United States, migrating from Cuba, and the time that was possible for her to come in here.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
Yeah, it must have been really hard being apart. So tell me where you went to school for art.
Well, I has been, in total, were like 10 years officially, because in Cuba, the system of art that we have institutionally is the first, we're going through Academy of Fine Arts, where we learn the techniques, painting, sculpture, engraving, photography, drawing. And later, that's for 4 or 5 years. And later, we go into the University of Arts. It's the only university we have in Cuba. It's Instituto Superior de Arte, ISA. And it's one of the most famous art institutes in Latin America, where too many of contemporary Cuban artists has been graduated from that institute from the 80s to today. And those are other 5 years of the studies, but our studies more focused on your concepts, your ideology, how to think about your ideas and your creativity, how to develop your process in art. So that's not a place to develop technique. It's more to, to develop how you think the world, how you see it, and to find your inner voice, to find your way to create.
That's cool, to express it.
Yeah, I feel the art system that we have in Cuba has been really great and has been a privilege because first was free and it's something that you cannot find everywhere. That was very important. Recently, I feel has been getting really bad because all the political and social situation that is happening in Cuba with the government and all the necessity of materials and everything. But during the years I studied art, I feel very proud about all the knowledge, the professors, everything I was getting from. Even when today I think maybe was not the best or this or that, but getting all that I think prepared me for being a professional artist after my graduation, and to very young starting making exhibitions, group shows, solo shows, going to residencies, even that allowed me to travel out my country for the first time, being very young.
Where did you go?
The first time I traveled was to New York. When I was in the second year in my university, I won a residency of art that is called OMI International Art Center. Was a huge experience for me. First, because it was my first time traveling out of my country, and that for a Cuban or for anyone that lives in an island is a big thing.
Sure. And New York is not a small deal, right?
Yeah, definitely. Coming from a small town, the most west town in Cuba, Pinar del Rio, to New York, like an artist, for me was like a big shock.
Yeah.
Was something impressive, but the most impressive thing for me and for my career was the opportunity to be in this residency that allowed me to share the space with over 30 artists from over 20 countries at that time. During the summer was 1 month creating work, showing, having open a studio there, and that was really amazing. And at that time I was very young. I had only 23. I was the younger artist to ever enter the residency.
Amazing.
At that time, they were celebrating the 20 years of opening that program.
So you basically got a crash course in culture.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you get there and all of a sudden you go from being in Cuba to coming to New York, which is just great. And then all of a sudden you have so much culture going on around you. What impressed you the most about being around people from such vast different ways of growing up than you did? What do you think impressed you the most?
Definitely was an experience that taught me a lot, and I think was very important to open my mind of how the art world and the artists live and spend their life out of Cuba, because living in an island is like living in a bubble, in a kind of bubble. Yeah. There are world and there are institutions there work in a way that it's very different how it function here in the United States or in Europe or in Asia. So to find these artists and to talk with them, and some of them, majority of them were older than me, had more experience.
Well, all of them were, because you were the youngest.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say they were older.
Ish.
But that was really something that impressed me and made me realize I need to be more flexible, more open, to study more, to understand better cultures that were part not of my own culture and my own vision. And travel for the first time out of Cuba was a big change for me because of that. And that instantly opened everything for me. And after that point, I feel I was starting in my career to be maybe more universal, and I started to talk through my work in a way that was possible for me to connect with people from everywhere.
That's great.
Not only being this kind of, you are a Cuban artist, or you must to be political, or you must to talk about the social or critical situation in your country.
Right.
After my studies in the university, I was more critical thinking about that, and I feel I need the distance from those kind of vision, because at the same time was a little bit like a poison for me. You know, it's like when you study art in a kind of a system, and that happen in any system, you came with it's a kind of a burden, all this background that is over you, the people who teach you, the artists you use like a reference, and if you don't break that a little bit, for good or for bad, you know, you are always looking in the same way, and for me it was important to open my mind.
Good. Now, I heard that you had spent some time in the military when you were in Cuba, and that sort of opened your eyes to some things when you were there. Can you tell me a little bit about your time there? And it's mandatory that people go in,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, the military in Cuba is something I feel traumatic for some people, and at least for me it was an experience very intense, because I was during over a year in a base of tanks base, doing a military exercises, very active, and was a breaking point between being very political in my work, because I was very political in the work I was doing.
How old
before
were you?
that. 18
yes,
at that
so you
time.
were sort of at an age where you were finding your strength, right?
Exactly. We entered between high school and the universities. How if you get a career, you only spend 1 year. If you don't get career, is 2 years in the military service. But was really a hard time, because during that full year was impossible for me to create any kind of art physically.
Right.
And I was more working in how build my mind and prepare myself for all that situation and my work like a creative person in Cuba. And during the next 2 years, my work was very critical, political, reactive to all the situation in Cuba. But my most important goal was to enter the university, to enter the Institute of Art. Being political was something that put me in the position to miss those exams 2 times, because definitely the government and the Minister of Culture was not allowing me to enter the university, being that political, being that confrontational with them. So at the same time, I feel grateful a little bit, because that allowed me to be more conscious about how I can create a world that can reflect and question all this situation around and in my country, not only on the public view, but also more spiritual and intimate.
Sure, introspective.
Being more philosophical, more poetic, and less confrontational. So that allowed me to create, I think, a kind of world that was not too direct, but was going more to make you reflect about things. And that was my opportunity to enter the university, to the Institute of Art. Yes, that was how the military service was a big impact.
Good. I think it gave you some patience too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That it's an experience that have too many bad things, but at the same time teach you too many lessons. Depending on what is your background, where you want to go after that.
Yeah.
So yes, it was like that.
That's good. They say a lot that no one ever looks back and says, "Oh, I really learned so much from the good times."
Exactly.
Mostly it's from the bad times.
Exactly. Sometimes the bad times teach you more than the good ones.
And, I think if you can be mature enough to look back and say, wow, that really catapulted my thinking. It really catapulted my career. And if it wasn't for that and me sort of being introspective and not being able to create art at the time.
Exactly.
You sort of built up and struggled within yourself and then found something you were comfortable with.
Yeah. Right. But it's ironic, because that is not the reason why they put you in that position.
Exactly.
It's something that you must to find. You must to find your way in that.
It's interesting that, the intent of it with you, the opposite happened.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's really interesting.
They try to, it's a mechanism that they create to indoctrinate you, to put your brain in a box and squeeze and make you this political beast only thinking in one way.
Yeah.
So for sure I was trying to escape
Do you think,
all of that.
Do you think that that happens more than people talk about what happened to you, or do you think that what happened to you is a little bit different, like a different
Well,
case?
all depends of where you came from and where you want to go, and I think everyone lived that experience in a very different way. For some people, it would be better than from other ones, but mostly depend of you. It's this kind of challenge that life creates for you that you need to overcome, no matter what. And then
I always call it a positive challenge. Right?
Exactly,
It's a positive
it's
challenge.
a little bit positive
Right?
in that way.
In the end, it turns out that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Whenever I'm stuck with something,
Make you
really
stronger,
hard,
for sure. Make you stronger.
Whenever
in so many
something
ways.
really difficult is happening to me, I either say to myself, like if a person is really challenging me in my head, I'm thinking a lot about it, I'll say, "Thank you, Divine Master." Like this person is teaching me something.
Exactly.
They're teaching me how to be a little more patient, maybe to take my ego out of things, maybe. So you never know with these positive challenges.
Yeah, I always say that the universe creates this situation for you for one reason.
That's right. It's like get the message, or it's just going to keep happening anyway.
You must find what is the reason behind, and if you don't find it, at least survive and growing up during that situation.
Yeah.
For me, it was like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad that happened to you.
Me too.
So then you came...
Because I'm never going to forget it.
Right. Yeah, because it was really hands-on. Like you were working with tanks.
Yeah,
right? Massive
also
machines.
have the happy part, enjoying everything without any risk, but
absolutely.
Everyone doing crazy stuff.
So you came out of the military, and then you got into...
After the military, were 2 years before going to the University of Art. That was my main goal. I spent that time still creating my work in my city, the city where I born, in Pinar del Rio. Is the most west city in Cuba. And in 2013, I entered the university during 5 years, and I graduated from the university in 2018. After that, that last year in the university is when I made my thesis, and was a huge presentation, a large presentation in a very important gallery in Havana. Was a great moment for me because I was closing that time in my career and in my life that was very, very important. I feel very proud about spend those years in the university. I was feeling at the end that all the fight and me trying to enter there worth every minute and the experience. And actually, I was thankful that I entered the university being a little bit older and more experienced. Yeah. Not being too young at the beginning, because that allowed me to understand better the art dynamics that were part of the Cuban art community. And that last year I got my studio in Havana, my own apartment, everything thanks to my work.
Yeah.
And during those years, I traveled the world thanks to my profession, to many residencies in Italy, Germany, New York, Miami. And yes, for sure was a beautiful time in my life. And after that, I think that prepared me to be a professional artist in the ways that everyone understands today that I must be.
Yeah. Yeah, so that sort of evolution, just all the traveling that you were doing and everything that you were absorbing kind of leads up to where you are now. What was your first major show outside of your thesis? Where was your first major solo
After
show?
my graduation in the Institute of Art, the first solo show was in New York in 2019 during the summer. Was a show related to a project that I was starting for my thesis in Cuba. I was portraying people inside of museums and galleries looking at art. But when you see the paintings, you only can see people looking around without seeing anything that they are looking. So you only were seeing people and empty walls. And the titles that I put to those paintings was the title of the paintings they were looking at. So, for example, if it was a lady looking the girasoles from Van Gogh, that's the title of the painting, but you're never going to see the sunflowers. You're only going to see the face of a woman realizing the world and enjoying. So, yeah, that was the first project that put me in the international sphere, I must say, in New York. And after that was Miami. I migrated to Miami and I started making all my projects here in the city to connect with the Miami art community.
Yeah. What made you choose Miami?
Well, for
other
people,
than it's so close, right?
yeah, it's not because it's close. It's because
I didn't think
all the cultural connection we have. I say this to all my friends, from people coming from Latin America and from Cuba, and for being an artist, or at least being in the art world, Miami is the best place. And me and my wife feel this every day because she's also in the art world, and has been a city that we has been enjoying a lot because we feel we have space, a place here to create our vision, to connect with everyone, to have a voice, to create something. I think the opportunities are just in front of you, and you must to build and fight for them and to create your own scenes in that way. And Miami is a place that embrace every culture, and the Latin American culture for sure is have a great place here.
You know, they say like 80% of success is just showing up, right?
Sometimes.
And I know, you know, we live here and we see each other often because we're such a tight-knit community.
Exactly.
Like, so everyone who's into art, and I feel like everybody just supports everybody so much.
Exactly, it is.
So it's so easy for us to say, hey, I have this idea, let's do this, let's do that. And I think that's a really beautiful part of being in Miami, because it's not as large as New York City, or it's not as intimidating, and you know, it's a smaller area to cover. But I feel like the art scene here has really catapulted in the past few years in Miami.
Yeah, has been growing up, and too many important artists has been growing up here and has been creating their career first here, and later they are very open and international in other ways. But Miami has been really a great point to come in and start really to connect very well with everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really, really great. I want to talk about the show that you just had up, right, at Spinello Projects. And it was called The Last Man.
The Last Man.
And I think visually it's very captivating, and the colors that you use are just gorgeous.
Thank you.
But the message behind it is something that I think is a really important topic of conversation, right?
Me too.
Yeah, obviously. You know, tell me a little bit about your thought process when you were making these paintings.
Yes, The Last Man really has been a very important project for me, not only because how the audience has received the project and all the attention and all that has been happening around it, has been also because for the last year I was really focused on reflecting about my masculinity and how I see the world around these kind of topics: identity, masculinity, race, and how all those concepts are interconnected.
Yeah.
And how I see, and I have a very personal sensibility around that, but how that sensibility can be perceived in today's world, because these are very controversial concepts and topics that depend of what is your background, you're going to create a kind of reading when you are in front of my work. Or you're going to go to a way, or you're going to go to another one. And for me, it's important that the work can be provocative in that way, but all the time maintaining my personal vision. So that was the reason why I started working on this idea that has been, it's not something that I was thinking for the last year. It's something that I feel has been bringing even when I was in Cuba. But now that I'm here in Miami, in this kind of culture that embrace your freedom, that embrace who you really are and how you really think the things, I feel brave in a way to be more open about what I like, how I like it, and how I can express myself around that, and embracing a kind of sensibility that that I feel identify me, that could be more open or more fluid or more inclusive in a way that in the traditional cultures could be being seen more or feminist, or everyone wants to create this kind of box where you must to belong, and if you try to escape that box, you don't belong.
Yeah.
And people always try to put you in a side of a kind of a box, and for me has been for the last years escaping every box that you can create. Feel free about the way I think about things, relationship, love. So yes, that's like the main idea and feelings behind all these projects. So the project were a series of portraits and sometimes characters in this kind of weird, ambiguous situation where they are reflecting about their identity, and sometimes they looks fragmented. Sometimes an identity is created, putting together 2 different pieces or 4 different pieces or canvases. In general, those are the ideas that going through all the project. But all these ideas came through a very surrealistic and dreamy way I have to construct my mind and to understand the world. I feel this project also has been very educative for me, because at least the way I, like an artist, understand and interact with the world is when I have some way to understand something, creating art, painting, sculpture, installation, put me in the position to be more conscious about those kind of topic I am reflecting about in a very spiritual and philosophical way.
The paintings are extremely luscious, I think is the word that comes to mind first. The landscapes that you put in them are extremely lush, and the colors and the blues. I'm just thinking about the gorgeous teals and the gold. So I think what really stands out in the paintings when you first look at them from an outside perspective is lame, right? You have men wearing gold lame, gold boots, tight gold pants. They're very provocative, right? And that's on purpose as well, right? Because you're trying to say, what is the new man?
Exactly.
How is he perceived, right? If you ask somebody's grandfather from 1941, did you ever see memes when they're like, there's somebody's grandfather in the war, and then this is me at 24, and then there's someone now at 24, they're like on a scooter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the paradigm shift has happened.
You're totally true, yeah, right? Definitely. I came from a culture that I feel has been very toxic in a way, that this macho man culture that put you in the situation of the only way to do things like a man is in this way and only this way, because people are going to judge you in a very bad way because they think. And I was trying to escape all that, and at some point I don't care, I don't mind what people are going to think. I really want to hear a voice inside of me that it's more sensible about the way to represent things different way. Sure. And put and create this kind of representation that play with your mind, that you are not accustomed to see this kind of, how you say, men with gold and shiny armor or kind of dresses that are sensual and erotic in some ways. So yes, that was part of me playing with the mind of the audience, and at the same time give these characters a voice.
It's very dreamy.
Yeah, it is.
And you said, I think I remember you telling me like some of the paintings actually came from some of your dreams, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, the way I construct some of my ideas and my paintings came a lot of how we remember a dream. So you have this vision that in a dream, and when you wake up, you try to remind everything.
Yeah.
But when you put everything together, some things doesn't match, and some things create a gap between each other. And that's a way that I create my composition, my ideas. I took a lot of reference from the art world, art history, from magazine, from fashion shows, from everything we see around us in the social media, because our imaginary is construct because all the algorithm that are around us,
That's right.
and not only in the present but also in the past. So putting all that together in the way how we construct dreams is how I create sometimes this idea. Sometimes it's just a portrait of a character, but sometimes it's a very complicated narrative that is happening and starting in a point, but it's developing. And that's also the reason why you can connect some of the characters that you saw in some of the pieces.
Yeah.
They are transforming and in a kind of metamorphosis between a scenario to another one, between a painting to another one. So sometimes it's a woman, but sometimes that woman it's a man.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know what it is.
There's one painting that you did where you actually, was it a man in the beginning or was it a woman underneath? And then you covered it with another canvas.
It's one painting, one piece that I create, putting together two different paintings that in the top looks what it is like a man, and in the bottom is like the long dress of a woman. But are two totally different paintings. When you put it together, you must to choose what you are looking at. And for me, it's really beautiful because create a new kind of identity that you are looking at that time, and why you choose what it is, you know?
Right.
So creating that kind of situation and put the audience in that position for me is very interesting.
Yeah, I love the fact that if you know, that like there's a woman or a man in the bottom. Is it a woman that you originally painted and then you put a man on the top, or is there a man in the back and then you put a woman?
That painting, the female gaze, is the title. It's the first portrait was a woman in a blue armor,
right.
And what I created was over the top of that painting that was the bigger canvas and the exhibition. I create a small portrait of a man in a different kind of armor, and I superpose both images.
So cool.
So when you confront the painting, you feel there is a character behind, and you feel there is something hiding, and it's impossible for the audience to see it.
Yeah.
And I like to play with that.
Yeah. Another painting, I mean, so many come to mind. I think one of my favorites in the show almost looked like a Gustav Klimt to me. Do you know the painting I'm thinking of? With this woman with very red hair, and there's a man on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't tell.
The Duel.
Yes, what an amazing painting. Yeah. Like that one just sort of sat with me after seeing the show. Can you tell me a little bit about that painting?
Yeah, the title of that one is The Duel. In the bag I put The Duel or the Pre-Raphaelite Dream, because was like this kind of dream thinking about Pre-Raphaelites was a very important movement in 19th century that represent this kind of woman in a very romantic, sometimes erotic, but sometimes melancholic way of reflecting about life. It's very dramatic. But for me, it was interesting to represent and create this character in a very strong, with a very strong aura, and positions is like confronting you. And what you see in the bottom of the painting, it's a small, very small portrait that made a close-up to the face of what looks like a man resting or dying there.
Yeah, at her feet, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is this is the kind of idea that cannot be read very easily. It's an idea that what I'm trying to create is provoke in you thinking, what happened here? This is an action in transition, what happened before or what's going to happen after. And when I say where is a duel, how you think about that. And for me was thinking in the moment after love, after you made love with someone, that kind of sensation when I was making the painting was the energy that I tried to put there. But it's something hard to explain, but it's why the painting, I feel, create this kind of connection with some of the audience.
Yeah.
Or at least I like to think about that.
It did. It left a lasting impression with me. And another painting I really liked in the show was of these centaurs. Were they centaurs? These half women, half horse that just sort of come out of this very blue forest, and they're sort of looking at you. You know, one of them is like very strong and sassy, and the other one is more shy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a very important painting for me from this show and from this series. It was the last painting I made for the show, and it's a nice representation. That room where those paintings were kind of exploring the night and exploring these kind of creatures that in this tropical kind of jungle they could be and can be themselves. That's the reason why the title of this painting is The Voyeur, and put the audience in the position to be that voyeur that find these wild creatures with the centaur body.
Right.
It's a very important piece because one of them, that one that looks very strong and brave, is a portrait of my wife. That has been a very important...
You've seen that look before.
And yes, that has been really important for me to having her portrayed there, because she has been also a very important part for me, like a man, understand my own masculinity, understand this kind of topic around feminist view, and understand all the controversies that are happening today between a position or more feminist or the more masculine. So thinking a lot about that and understand her vision has been very vocal for me in a way. And
it's interesting how over the past, I don't know, 5 decades or so, the theory that women are very strong, women can do anything, women, which I'm a woman and I can totally get behind. For a woman to be strong is considered a good thing, right? It's a positive thing. Some people don't think it's good. Some people like women more demure, but that strength, that's a very strong woman. That's a very big compliment you can give a woman, right? She's very strong.
Yeah.
And women are.
Of course.
But to say that a man is very sensitive, which is the opposite, is not a compliment usually.
Exactly.
Right? It's not something that's people would be like, oh, that's such a great compliment to say. But it's a very important thing to feel when you're with somebody, right?
Actually, I think everyone and every man in some point can feel it.
Sure.
Because we are all humans. We all have fear, insecurities, doubts about everything in life. But the general culture teach to us that if you are maybe a woman, you must express it. And if you are a man, you don't cry, you don't talk about it, and you don't open those kind of thinking. But everyone feel it.
Right.
And I feel it's important in today's world being open about that, because the funny part of this is that if you find today a man also talking like that, could look like he's victimizing himself in a little bit, or assuming other kind of, it's weird how society see this kind of thing, and it's just like you mentioned.
Yeah, no, that's why I liked your show so much, because even, I was out at dinner at Basel, and there were 2 people at the table who were collectors and an artist, and they were talking about the show, and I had not seen it yet. And I was like, wow, this guy's really got a buzz. Like, there's a conversation happening about what you did and the colors that you chose and how dreamlike the people were. And I thought, I really need to go see this because, people are just talking about it at dinner. And I wanted to tell you that because if I made a show, I would want to know that people were talking about it at dinner.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And what I love is that don't matter what people talk about your work, the important thing is that they are talking about it.
Exactly. No, I think it's great that, that you dared to put a man in like these lame pants.
Exactly.
And I think the paintings are beautiful. Like visually, they're just stunning. The way that you apply the paint is just amazing to me. And you like to use a lot of trees in your paintings, I noticed, like a lot of water, like you tend to use a lot of the elements. You just think that's because of where you came from, or is this
it's
something
a little bit about that. All the last years developing my technique in painting with the oil, it has been trying to create this kind of vision where each time the work is getting more fluidity and sensuality in the way I apply the painting. So when you see the painting in front of you, you can feel of this kind of transparency, layers of color, but also the brush strokes are moving a lot. And it's a kind of energy that I am putting in the world that is, I feel it's coming in a very organic way. It's hard to explain, but also the use of the colors and the representation of this kind of tropical nature, for sure, is my background.
Yeah.
Coming all this energy and warmth from the Caribbean island and the color of the tropical jungle, for me has been very important. But the funny thing is that the kind of nature I am creating don't belong to any physical or a specific way. Everything going through a kind of transformation that I am creating in my process to create a new kind of nature there where these characters feel they are in a home. And it's a kind of nature where sometimes they are like in a kind of camouflage, but sometimes it's a kind of nature that gives to them this very strong aura and this very exactly.
Yeah. And it's also at the same time very misty, right? It's very wistful at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
So you can almost, there's something very cozy about them too, right? There's like you sort of want to go inside and lay down in the grass or something, It's inviting.
Exactly.
It's inviting, I think is what I want to say.
I think for me, one thing I enjoy about my paintings, my painting process is try to make the painting seductive, not only because the way they look, but also what they are representing in a way that you must approach and have an experience with the art that is hard to explain, but it's something that creates a sensation in you that you can keep in your mind. For me, it's important that art, after you seen, is something that you must to remember.
Yeah.
If not, I don't know.
It's true.
Or at least that I'm trying to create that.
I think you did it.
Thank you.
I think you did it. One painting, another painting that's coming to mind. So many, because you really take people on a journey through this show. Like there's one where a woman is on a horse and she's jumping over. There's two, right? Where they're jumping over swimming pools, and there's men swimming naked in the pool, and you've just got this fully dressed woman jumping, right? And tell me about that painting, because I thought that one was interesting. There were two, but right?
Yeah, there is a room where I have this representation of horses, but one of the painting is Portrait of an Artist, that take the title after a famous painting of David Hockney that has been a really important influence for me, not only because the work he created, because also the human being and the artist that he resembled and that he has been in our history.
Sure.
Very, very important because his vision. And I use that kind of representation. Is if you know a little bit about our history, you can connect the reference to his work. In this case, his portrait of an artist is a kind of weird portrait, self-portrait, because there is, as you say, a man in a swimming pool, and over him there is this lady naked over a horse jumping. So it's one of those pieces that are more like a dream or a weird dream, but could be very realistic in some way. And it's a piece that is talking about relationship and how complex we are like human beings and how complex our relationship in some way. And for me also the horses, that is an element that I repeat in some of the pieces.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's a very important symbol and animal because of my background when I was a child. And my family have some horses in the farm because my grandfather was a farmer, and I played a lot with horses, but I feel they are creatures and characters that in my paintings are an extension of the soul of the people that it's writing them,
Sure.
are writing them. And in this case, it's very weird how I build the idea, but when you put everything together, make a lot of sense. And I think the character of the horses are very strong in this kind of situation and give this temperamental and strong vibe and feeling in each composition. So it's something I enjoyed a lot to create in each idea.
And what are you excited about? What's coming up?
Well, I am very, very excited because this show with Spinello has been really great to put all this new vision and new group of work in front of the audience and connect with new collector, connect with new audience. I am planning for the future more exhibition, not only here in Miami, in other cities, going to art fairs and continue developing this work. I think this project just opened a door for continue hearing for me this voice that I want to explore and to develop more and see where I'm going.
Yeah. I once had an artist say something to me. He was in his 90s. Great interview. He said to me, you have an art show and you have the stress for getting the art show done, and then you have the high of showing it, and then after it's over, there's almost like a depression. Like you feel like you're having postpartum depression. Like now it's over. And to kind of rebuild yourself after that is, either, I had this really great idea, or what's that like for you? Because you're going, this is the time it's happening to you right now. Well,
for me, I think, for example, for me has been totally the opposite. Has been this show and this project has been a shot of adrenaline, and I am feeling now very creative, and I have too many ideas that I am developing in my mind, my sketchbook.
I love it.
And even before opening the show and having everything there, I was already painting new pieces in my studio, doing some small studies. Yes, for me, I cannot separate the stage where I am now and the moment I say, well, this is going to be all the pieces that are going to be in the exhibition, was a continuation. But having the show and interacting with the audience give me more confidence, for sure.
Absolutely.
About I am in the right path, creating this world and connecting with everyone and having my voice here in the city and in everywhere. So yes, it's something that I am developing, and as I say, it's a door that I just open. I am exploring and being very open about what is happening and how the pieces and ideas will come in. Some more going to be more provocative, other will be more intimate or more sensual or more, it's more dreamy.
Yeah.
But yes, feeling free in the way I am creating and feeling free in the way I want to expose my ideas and my vision about the world, masculinity, identity, all these topics that are around us.
So you open the door and you definitely walk through it.
Exactly. I am in the middle of everything now.
You're making that path as you go.
Yeah,
I think it's important that people understand who you are, the essence of where it started, where you're going. And I think what I get most from you, what I really like, is that you're really enjoying the moment.
We must enjoy it.
You're really enjoying the moment. And I think that you just sort of put an exclamation point on that when I was telling you about that older gentleman who like found himself getting depressed. It's almost like he was looking in the past too much, but you're looking in the future.
That's happened a lot, because also it's true that having a major presentation or a solo show for an artist is a moment of, it's a critical moment, because you are open your soul to everyone, and everyone is judging you in a way sometimes going good, but sometimes not how you was expecting.
Yeah.
For me, has been better than I was expecting, but in some point I was in certain fear about, well, how this vision that I have now and that I'm opening now going to be perceived.
Yeah.
And for my surprise, everyone connect a lot and very deeply with some of the pieces. And what I love the most is that everyone from this show have a favorite piece that is different to other people and connect with them, because for me, art must create this kind of story that really connect with you in a profound and deep way. And it's something that I am loving creating. That's the reason why I feel the confidence to still in this and be in this path and going beyond. Let's see where this take me.
Well, I'm certainly a fan. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today and spending your time with us. And,
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot the drink. Really good drink.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.